It's 8:45, Sway in the morning. You know, Heather, there's a lot of folks in this business that one of the reasons why I love doing this show now really was for selfish reasons. It wasn't just to play music.
Right.
And to break new artists, emerging artists, and give an opportunity to those who don't otherwise have it because perhaps they're not connected to a clique or a powerful brand. But there's a lot of people who I consider unsung heroes who played a major part in developing this culture that we know as hip-hop and into a worldwide entity that people are benefiting from all walks of life, different platforms in different ways. And some of the people you don't always know because you don't get to see them, but they're architects and they help building this infrastructure, especially when it comes to journalism. You know, journalism, I think out of any aspect of the music business has been one that has just been transformed in the recent decades in a way that it doesn't even look the same it looked if you got into it back in 90, 91 when King Tech and I started doing radio in the Bay. How people are finding out information, how people are distributing information, it's changed. Our guest today is somebody who's been here doing editorial work since the early 90s. Yeah. And I remember hearing her name being on the West Coast and going, wow, you know, we kind of worship those who were doing the business, even if we're the same age. It's like, wow, this person, what she did what? She worked with the Mind Squad. She was with Source Magazine. She did that. She was with Ebony Magazine. Who started Honey? Where did that come from? All this great work, all this information that she's put out over the years. We should be honored to have her on the show today. Our guest, who's going to announce a new position that she recently got and some of the work she's going to be doing with Interactive One. She's the new Senior Vice President of Content and Brands. Give it up for Kierna Mayo, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. That was so dope. Wow.
Man, I could have went on for 20 minutes, but it was like, you know, we only got about 20 minutes.
Swear that was so dope. No, really, look, we're peers.
We're peers.
There's a few architects at this table. Can we say that?
Okay.
You know, we've seen a lot. And I have to say that at this age, at this stage in my life, it's such a treat to be able to now work with young people who I see so much of myself in. There's so much conversation about what this generation isn't, but I just have to bear witness to what they are.
Yes.
And if you are a movement person, if you are connected to any people's kind of movement, particularly art, you cannot discount what young people are doing, what they're talking about, how they're feeling, how they're moving culture. So as much as I think about that important time, the early 90s, the mid 90s, the early 2000s, I mean, on and on and on and on. I try not to even tell the stories too much because I'm trying to keep my little grays and intact.
You got to tell the stories.
But you got to tell the stories. You have to tell the stories. And I'm understanding that now in an even more impactful way because it's not just about my pen, but it's about creating lanes for the pens of others. And today we know it's more than just a pen, right?
Yes.
It's about giving people a lane to share ideology, to kind of converse about conflict, the things that are really disconnecting us as opposed to connecting us. And this is what I'm doing now. It's not Interactive One anymore. We changed our name to iOne Digital.
That's right. I wanted you to correct me on that.
Yep. And the Blow Up site right now, my newest baby, like you said, I created Honey Magazine. I've been a part of a lot of startups, is Cassius. And CassiusLife.com is where it's at. It's really beautiful, I have to say. First and foremost, anyone who's ever known anything about my work, I've always been aesthetically led. So, you know, images matter. And this was before the internet. So I just had a one-up on understanding how people actually communicate through visuals. So one thing that you'll know when you go to Cassius that is fine is, can we...
You can.
You can say, try. I dare
exactly.
you.
Okay. It's fine as shit.
Okay, there you go. Liberate.
Yes, get free, because that's what the whole Cassius experiment is about. We're really talking about what it means to be unapologetic in culture. So it's not just that we cover music. It's not just that we cover sneakers. It's not just that we cover sex. It's how. It's the point of view. It's the posture and the perspective. And it's really exciting because these are some crazy ass times. Yeah. And people have a lot to say. And we have a lot to unpack. So that's what we're trying to do. And you can probably take something from the name Cassius itself.
I think of someone who was unapologetic before he changed his name to Muhammad Ali. I think of Cassius Clay.
That's right.
Is that where the name came?
That's exactly where the name came from. Speaking of the 90s, back in the 90s when I was dreaming up the honey thing, you know, with my partners and my friends, we noticed this magazine called George. And George was created by John F. Kennedy Jr., not quite urban, right? But I always knew that Black people had names too, and that we had heroic greats too. And George magazine was named for George Washington, but yet had nothing to do with George Washington. It was really about what he imagined George Washington to embody, right? So being a first, being a warrior, being out front. And I'm saying to myself, here I am at the helm of what is going to be the next millennial thing.
Yes.
We're going to give it something. We're going to imbue this thing from the outset with some power. We're going to put inside of this what our intentions are. And we know that being unapologetic, especially being unapologetically Black, is a way to move the globe, not just Black folks.
Don't worry about that.
You know what I mean? It's like we're all touched by what Black people who are really in touch with their freedom, with their minds, and with their passion do. We all respond to that. And so Cassius is just here to kind of take culture back, because we see the culture vultures out there kind of selling Black and creating it, manufacturing it without the actual culture creators.
Well, give me an example of that. Like when you say culture vultures are selling Black, exploiting Black,
exploiting Black.
But not.
I mean, you know, well, look. In very recent days, we saw what happened with Dapper Dan and Gucci, right? I'm sure you guys touched that.
Yes, we did.
And in fairness to the truth, in today's world, if you are a Dapper Dan, the only response is to look for a Gucci, someone to give you an avenue once they realize that they've jacked you once again. So I completely respect what's happened since the conversation began, which is that he's in talks with Gucci. Great. They should have been tapped into Dapper Dan. Yeah. But the point still remains, the Guccis of the world, that's just one example of how the things that we do just somehow become fodder for other people's money, for their success, for their platforms, for their style. And we just want to say, you know, there are architects to this thing.
Yes.
There are people who, you know, and all architects aren't ancient. Some of them are young. Culture is happening in real time.
Yes.
But you also see culture jacking happening in real time too. And so, you know, Cassius really isn't here to make folks outside of our community feel unwelcome. Quite the opposite. This is an experiment that says all are welcome, but just recognize authenticity when you touch it, when you see it.
Kierna Mayo's here, okay, and this is awesome. You know, how do you launch a new platform like Cassius in this day and age? How is it different from when you launched Honey?
Oh my goodness! Yeah. In many ways, identically the same, and in many ways, like diametrically opposed. So how it's the same? Back to my piece about young people, you need teams. I believe in teams. When you make magazines, you learn very much how the team dynamic works. If you've never played a professional sport, you still get the opportunity to understand that everybody has a very critical position. And when one man or one woman is not in rotation, everything could fall through. So there's a fundamental teamwork structure that's just part of my DNA. And to do something like Cassius, you know, people are calling me the creator. I can't really say that I'm the creator. I may be the imaginator. Yeah. But the creators are the creators. Yes. It's happening through bodies. And so the team work is there. Also understanding heat. You know, it's an intangible. People like yourself, you know, I remember when you and Tech were on the air just so long ago, but still with the same kind of spirit that this show has today, just that understanding of where the truth lies, where the pulse is, where the heat is.
Where the
heat is. And so some people, you can't really teach that. That's not something that can be taught. You just have to have that. But that was a big part of what Honey was. That was a big part of what The Source was. And that's certainly a big part of what Cassius is today. But of course, digital media, the entire landscape is completely different. I mean, social media has created a kind of democracy. You know, like you guys were out west thinking about what the 10 of us at the source were doing, and we held the entire stage because there was no other voice. There were very few other avenues who could get in. The democracy of the internet today, of social media today, means that if you're a pod of 10 who are like-minded folks, who are a mind squad of your own, you could get your shit off.
You can get
you
it
know
off,
what I mean?
right?
And so there's no reason not to. So Cassius has to exist in the world, and it's crowded out here.
Is it overcrowded?
So that's the piece. To me, it's overcrowded.
Yeah.
So where we want to slip in is back in the place where content that is elevated becomes elevated. Where instead of trying to force ourselves to respond to every single nook and cranny, we are going to respond where we want to and where we have meaningful things to say. We just want to do a little bit less to do a little bit more, if that makes sense.
That's our mantra, right? That's what we do.
Yeah.
Damn, so we on the right path. Because I was going to say, how are you going to avoid this clickbait mentality of the industry we work in now? How are you not going to fall to those levels?
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
You know, you need numbers, you need clicks. But I think if your foundation, listen, it's an experiment. It remains to be seen. I'm here to say y'all support, you know. But if you have a foundational piece that means something to folks, I think just like throughout all time, a classic is a classic is a classic is a classic.
Yeah.
It's like you put something in it, at least you're seeding it with the hope that people are coming to you because they mean to, not because you tricked them into it or because you lured them every 5 minutes. I mean, that said, we hope our headlines and we hope, you know, what we do is viscerally attractive to you too. Like we're out here in the world competing with everyone else.
Kierna Mayo is here. Cassius is the new platform. Cassius.com. You spell it Cassius.
CassiusLife.com.
CassiusLife.com. Let me repeat that. CassiusLife.com. If you have any questions, call us 888-742-3345.
In your opinion, how necessary and relevant is a journalism degree in this day and age?
Gosh, that is a really good question. Okay. The truth is that a journalism degree is not irrelevant. It also is not necessary. So both things. To be classically trained, I think, especially today, is actually an asset because so few people are.
Right.
That said, if you live in the world, you will notice that there are many journalists, as we know them today, who were not classically trained, who have really important voices in the space and who have a lot to say. So you have to have the combination. If you're a journalist, a young storyteller, I prefer to say, because it's not just, you know, in this era of so-called fake news, it's not just about classic anything. It's about being able to kind of inject your way of seeing the world on the way things used to be. So I think that journalism is a wide open space, but the idea that there are hard truths is real. Now, are there subjective interpretations of hard truths? Sure. But is that wall blue? Yes. If I tell you it's red, I'm not telling you the truth, right? So, I mean, there are some lines around journalism that most of us who do this all day, every day kind of understand when we're navigating the internet. But my fear is that so many people can't tell the difference between folks who mean to riff off of a central idea that we know is true versus folks who are just using a platform to lure you into believing what they believe solely because they believe it.
Going back to when we were saying how this market is so oversaturated and it puts a lot of pressure, especially with this 24-hour news cycle, to just have like this ongoing assembly line of stories. And what suffers is the fact checking. But then when you juxtapose it with the fact that we're in a world where you have fake news and you have alternative facts, what is the fact checking process for you?
Well, again, remember, I'm not writing every day as much as I am kind of executive managing and creating a lane for other writers. But we fundamentally go through all of our stories with multiple edits. So unlike a lot of sites,
still do the rounds.
We still do rounds. I mean, we still have a lot of print traditions that we're bringing to Cassius. In fact, a lot of us, especially some of the older heads, have some print background, so that helps. You don't catch everything, but you also work with trusted folk so that you're not just allowing anyone the access to your audience, to your beloved platform, to just go haywire with no system of checks and balances.
Right.
Can you give out your personal social media so folks can hit you directly?
Absolutely. I'm at Kierna Mayo, so that's KIERNAMAYO on everything.
We have Jamil from Detroit on the line.
Hey, Jamil.
What's up, Jamil?
What's good, Jamil?
Hey, what's going on? Good morning. I wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys. And I got to be real quick. I see that it's on the time. So what I wanted to, it's two parts. I have a question. I'm 46. Does age make a difference trying to get into this field as a start off?
So this field, meaning as a writer?
No, I don't want to do writing. I want to broadcast. I want to. I have a degree in radio, TV broadcast, and I had a career. I'm just recently retired from the Detroit Police Department, and now I want to do what I set out to do.
Man, if you have something to say that's interesting, I think you could definitely get in the loop, but you got to immerse yourself in the world. You know, truly immerse yourself in the world. There's definitely levels to it, but it all depends on what you have to say and your perspective, and how appealing it is to your audience. Hey, I wouldn't tell anybody not to chase your dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's your
can't
dream.
do that.
Yeah, go for it. See what happens. All right, Jamil?
Okay, I will.
All right, that's the only question you're going to get, though. All right, bro. All right, Nikki in Atlanta, what's up?
Hi, Nikki.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Heather B, Tracy G, Wonder, everybody. First, my sister, I just want to say thank you for all of the work that you imprint. You've placed a physical as well as a personal imprint in personal lives of myself. But I, as an independent and freelance journalist who was 38, grew up in an era where I was influenced by both you, Sway, and you and her in fields of like this, from Yo MTV Raps, Dunny Simpson, and Travis Smiley. How does someone who is now living in an era of Instagram famous and YouTube and internet, and that's like almost a guaranteed way to get your foot in the door, how does someone who is a writer/activist, which there's a need for, get in the game?
That's almost like the question that the gentleman had before you. It's a loaded question. You know, it's really not easy, because I think for most people like myself and Sway, if I can even speak for him, is that this was like a protracted journey. This didn't happen overnight. So, you know, one piece begot the next piece. One gig begets the next gig. So you kind of can't isolate the careers of folks when you see them at their success point. But I would say, you know, being good and being consistent, being prolific in today's world is really important. You got to write and then write and then write and then write again. You can't wait for permission for people to validate you, because that may actually come after the fact. You might have to write your way out of not having a way. You know, and I'm sorry that I can't be more specific than that. Relationships matter, like with everything.
No, I think you're right on. You know what? And just to add to that, Nikki, you know what? Start with your friends and start with people that you know. A lot of times Sway used to come to me and just be like, where are you writing this stuff? I started doing the happy hour with Heather B in my basement on my computer, and I would just have these little things that I would write about, and I would just email my friends, and one friend would email another friend and another friend, and it just kind of grew on its own to the point I got a website. But I started out with the free WordPress thing in my basement, and Sway was like, it looks terrible, but you have good content. You need to start, you know, but start with what you have. Yeah. That's what people don't realize. Yes. You can build with the 2 blocks you have and start from there, Nikki.
Heather, I feel like
Definitely.
you always...
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Nikki. You're a citizen. I feel like you're always trying to expose my mean side on
No,
air.
it's not me. It was honest, and it was honest.
Okay, all right. Okay, this is what I want to do. While we have you here, Kierna Mayo is here, CassiusLife.com. Go check it out. See it for yourself,
exactly.
man.
We got a dope cover coming. I got to tell y'all about the covers.
Who's the cover?
So, you want to know who the covers? So, first of all, Cassius is doing digital covers. Again, so many of us are coming from magazines. I couldn't let that go. I have a whole history of dope-ass covers. I wasn't going to stop that.
That's your thing. You know? Like, so, your work has always been top-notch and quality. That's why I'm excited about Cassius' life. It's like it's the kind of work you watch and go, damn, man, I need to get what Kevin Hart said yesterday. He would watch Oprah or watch Jay-Z do a title and go, damn, I need to get off my ass and go do something to be inspired like your work has. But go ahead.
Thank you. So we're doing digital covers, and this will actually be our second one. Our first one was a nod to, the headline was Death to Culture Vultures. Okay. So we were just kind of teasing the waters, and that was last month when we were having our pre-launch. This is our official launch month, and I'm not going to tell you the whole cover. We're teasing it today. We drop it tomorrow, but it's a riff off of The Last Supper. And I know you've seen this with Kendrick and Humble, but when I say we take it up a notch and that we were in the lab before we saw Humble, have to say that.
Okay, in Logic.
Have to say that. But you'll be really inspired. So we're asking everybody now to figure out who gets to eat. We're calling it the First Supper. We don't have 12 disciples. We have 30. And we're calling them the Tribe of Unapologetics. And they're living and dead. So they're not all today's folk. So we're putting together a hodgepodge of the people who we think in the last 200 years have kind of driven culture unapologetically, and we're asking you for your list. So that's where we are right now. It's dope. It's fiery. It really is.
Good.
Well, I know Muhammad Cassius Clay is in there.
Maybe you know. I don't know.
I feel like Sway should be in there too.
Maybe Sway's in there. Who knows?
Yeah. No, don't do that.
So and so look, we're defining being my bad. We're defining being unapologetic slightly differently. It's not just folks who you think of as being political or unapologetically black in that classic sense. It's also the dude who rocks pink sneakers. It's also it's like what it means to be on your thing, what it means to be unapologetic about who you are in the world, how you move through the world. So look for that too. Like with Cassius, there's always a little twist. Just when you think you got it, go one level deeper because we're trying to spark you.
Oh, I can't wait to check this out. Hey, while you're here, Kierna, can you join us for some Celebrity Wire?
Absolutely.
Let's do it with Tracy G.
You know you love celebrity drama.
Don't ask me a question like that. I'm not biting.
Especially when it's caught on camera.
No! Don't shut me up!
It's time for Celebrity Wire on Sway in the Morning.
Oh, God, here we go.
On Shade 45.
All right, Tracy G dug up some stories. Kierna Mayo is here from CassiusLife.com. Check it out. iOne, new Senior Vice President of Content and Brands. Any comments you have, man? Have fun with it, or you want to come back with something, Kierna? Go ahead. Join in. Join in the conversation.
Let me tell you what's perfect. No, don't be scared. Because Kierna, since she's teasing the cover of Cassius Life, it had me thinking about during your time at Ebony when you put up one of, I would say, the most classic brow-raising covers back in 2015, November. And it was the full cast of Cosby back in their older glory, but it was like a screen was broken right in the middle. And a lot of people online had very heavy, polarizing reactions. And I remember you did an interview and you spoke about the story behind the cover.
Joining me now is Kierna Mayo, editor-in-chief of Ebony Magazine. Welcome.
Let's talk.
People are mad. I mean, they are mad at this cover because they believe that Ebony Magazine, I think, is supposed to show glowing images all the time of African Americans. Talk to me about this.
So, some people
are.
And you mean black people.
Yeah, yes.
Right? And it's because it's personal to us.
Yeah.
And this is what we knew. Should we separate the man from the
fictional character, right?
The fictional character who we all exalted, loved, needed, in some respects, worshipped the idea behind, the notion behind.
So I'm going to walk us up from 2015 to 2017 because now Cosby, he has his 2-week trial that just kicked off yesterday. And one of the women who allegedly he sexually assaulted went on the stand, and it's being reported that she was sobbing. She was talking about an encounter from 1996. That's what she was testifying, in which, according to her, Cosby handed her a pill to swallow. She decided that she was going to try to fake that by hiding the pill underneath her tongue. That's when Cosby allegedly came through with a glass of wine and said, "Let me open your mouth." let me see underneath your tongue. And she felt pressured to then swallow the pill.
Oh, so react, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Kierna.
It's still, to be honest, thinking about the Cosby allegations is actually painful.
Right.
You know, I kind of try to not. So it's back in the news again. You know, anybody in this room would be hard pressed to get 50 people to say the same thing about them on any given day, lie or truth. So it's a challenge to me as an individual to suspend my good sense when that many people accuse someone of something, and then you hear the specifics of one woman's story.
Right.
Just as a woman, I kind of know better than to doubt women who come forth as the victims of any kind of sexual assault or violence. Have women told lies in the past? Sure. Is that the case the majority of the time? Absolutely not. In the case of Cosby, after we did that cover, you know, we got a lot of flack, a lot of attention, both good and bad, because again, it's a community conversation that is riddled with so much more than just his particular instance. But we have a lot of gender stuff to work out, and we have a lot of conversation that hasn't been had about assault, abuse, violence, all of that stuff. That kind of just raises right up to the top when you have to deal with this through this public lens. But I was at a funeral a year ago when a woman came up to me and said, "You don't know me, but I tried to send you flowers last year." And so here I am at somebody else's mother's funeral, and a perfect stranger walks up to me. And so I'm like, So I just am looking at her kind of quizzically, and she says, that Cosby cover, I was one of his victims.
Ooh.
And so, again, you know, first of all, I'm not there as a journalist, so I don't begin to say, show me your proof. How do you... It's just you're dealing with a human being in real time at an emotional event already. And when somebody says something like that to you, it's very hard to simply rely on, quote, what is known as objective truth right now, because we don't have any facts other than he say versus she say. For me, she say overrides he say in this particular instance. And you know, it remains to be seen what the courts find, and it's painful and it's hurtful to see one of our elders, especially somebody who had such stature in our community for so long, go down like this. But I have to say, no excuses ever, ever, ever. Sexual violence against women just cannot be tolerated, and we have to stand up, men and women, black folks and all folks.
All folks got to stand up, right? And I agree with you on that. TV One start running reruns of the Cosby Show. Kierna, will you still be watching it?
That's another good question. I also have kids. Probably.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, I support TV One.
Yes.
Second of all, I think that the Cosby Show, outside of these allegations, remains a piece of art. That is a classic piece of art. Now, when I allow my children to watch this show, we have to have a conversation about modern times as well. We have to talk about the illusion. We also have to talk about what was wrong with the 80s and this idea of black respectability being trumped over everything else anyway, because I have some theories about, you know, what happened in our communities during that time and why it was so important for us to put this kind of buttoned up, perfect example out before the world. But the truth was, we live in the gray area as well, and there's beauty there too. So I think we spent a lot of time being perfect when we could have spent a lot of time being a bit more true across the board. The Cosby Show was one example of black life in America. There were many examples of black life in America to be held up. I'm not just talking about the worst. I'm talking about the best. So Cosby Show is complicated. I still recognize it as beautiful art, just like I do some R. Kelly's music. I'm not going to, you're not going to hear me blasting it out of my car. But,
12 play, that's your joint.
But it's not 12 play, and I'm not going to name what it is. But there is one or two that still work, even on myself.
Okay, all right.
Even on myself.
Okay, all right, yeah, you know. All right, what else you got? Is that it?
Okay, well, I can do this real quick. Just going back to our conversation about unapologetic blackness.
Yeah.
And one of the people that I feel like qualifies under that is a very unorthodox character in hip-hop culture, Lil Yachty. So his debut album just dropped, Teenage Emotions. A lot of people were waiting for the numbers to see if it was going to, kind of stack up with all of his hype. 46,000 units sold. Disappointing for him, so he went on Instagram to address it with his fans. Very, very lengthy. I'll just give you a little snippet of what he said. Message to all my fans. I just want to thank you for giving me your all. I didn't make this project for the old reviews and the old bloggers. I made it for real Lil Yachty fans who have been dying for new music from me. Then he went on to say, they don't understand us. First week numbers, I understand, didn't do what most people expected, but that's only because they don't understand me. I don't expect anybody to. I make it for those who listen.
I don't think those numbers are bad, honestly. 46,000 in a
today.
Yeah, in the age of free music, like his audience aren't even prone to buying music.
No, they're prone to seeing him at festivals versus hearing him in their headphones.
Two things I heard. So I heard a little ageism there. So he's not doing it for the old bloggers. What the 29-year-old bloggers are too old.
Yeah.
But no. I think there's something there. Like if you feel like you know your audience and that you're on the vanguard of something. I don't know. I haven't heard the music, but if you feel like you are personally on a vanguard, sometimes you are out there with the vanguard crew, which means the select few that get it at first before a tipping point. I can't imagine that this is going to be that thing, but I think I just make room for artists who say, listen, I'm out here and maybe you don't get me right now.
Yeah.
I'm best friends with Q-Tip. I say this all the time to whoever who will listen, because we went to high school together. We were children together. And he's just one of my friends and also heroes. And I remember him being just outside of the inside from this high.
Yeah.
And that was so admirable. And you see what a true artist can do with that. And today, the 40-something-year-old Tip is just like that 15-year-old Tip. And so if what Yachty is speaking to is nodding to that, I make space for it.
You make space for it. Okay. Kierna Mayo is here. We got a couple of callers that's responding to the Cosby story. Raphael in California. Go ahead.
Raphael, what up?
Yeah, this is me, Lafayette. My name Lafayette Love. I'm Princess Love and them cousins. Y'all don't know me. The world don't know me.
Hey, what's your comment?
I feel like everybody in Bill Cosby business, they need to quit. They need to let it go because, it's defamation of character. You don't know if it's true. You don't know if it's real. It's like lies. People need to, I feel like Jet Magazine need to business because he could sue you for defamation of character. It's like y'all passing opinions of people. People lying. People lie for bills. Like people that go on TV and tell lies.
Okay, so he's innocent until proven guilty, is what you're saying. And that's why he's in court right now.
Yep.
And as the stories come out, we'll hear more. If the evidence come out, we'll hear more. But thanks for your call, Lacey. What up?
Hey, Lace.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
Doing okay. What'd you like to say?
Well, I just want to say, when I was in 5th grade, I was about 11 years old, and my neighbor, she was in her 20s. She was actually an assistant for him. And I remember she came over to our house, and she was talking to my mom, and she was just talking about how demeaning he was towards women, and that she had to quit because just the comments that he would make and some of the suggestions that he would say to her, I don't know, but to hear that at 11, I don't know. When everything came out about him, I kind of believe it.
You kind of believe it. Wow. Yeah. Okay, Lacey. Wow.
I think the truth, if we're going to speak truth, is that a lot of powerful men are not that nice behind closed doors. It's not completely uncommon. I think if you talk to young women who have access, you will hear more stories of how people just take advantage of power in general, So I guess that doesn't really shock me. It is unfortunate that you would be 11 to have an icon like that being ripped down by someone you know personally. But again, I think that this gives us an opportunity to talk, for one, and to recognize that people are very frail. All of us, the best of us, right? Celebrities, stars, the rich folks, the not rich folks, we all have these human qualities. So it's important not to assign people superhuman qualities, no matter where they are in culture. You can admire their work, but understand that you do not know them. You think even the folks that you see on so-called reality shows, you don't know them, people. You only know what you're being presented. It's important for us to just recognize that people can let you down, especially folks that you lift up, which is why we have to be discerning, and we have to be critical minded, and we have to watch how we ingest information, and we have to, check sources, and we have to have conversation.
Well, this is a lovely conversation.
Absolutely.
Got the iconic Kierna Mayo is here. Go to CassiusLife.com. Get involved. Get invested. See what they're talking about.
Thank you.
This is going to be one of my favorite go-tos. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
This
is the best.
Coming.
I love you guys. I really
Thank you.
It.
Hopefully we could do some. I know we got some synergy that we could work out here. Okay.
For sure. Have me back, and I'll have y'all in too.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
All right.
Also want to thank the Outlaws for coming by.
Yeah, they were good.
And look out for their new project. They're gonna be in the All Eyes on Me movie. Also, they have the new album Last Ones Left. That's out June 23rd. All Eyes on Movie is June 16th. Tupac's 46th birthday. And then also A&E is doing Who Killed Tupac. They'll be featured in that as well. We'll post a video up tomorrow morning. You can watch the interview if you didn't get a chance to hear it. You can hear it back on SiriusXM.
/on-demand.
Okay, Tracy, you could be reached where?
Twitter, Instagram, hit me there, super easy, at it's Tracy G, ITS ACYG, and make sure you visit my platform, she'sbeautyandthebeast.com.
I am OQ on Instagram, and tomorrow we got TLC and Naughty by Nature. They're going to be stopping by. They're out on tour.
Okay, great. Damn, that's pretty big. Okay, DB on Wonder.
Mark McGrath, too. Don't forget Sugar Ray, one of the greatest bands to ever do it.
That's very true.
Shout out to DJ Homicide.
Hey, at DJ Wonder across the board. Go ahead.
It's really DB everywhere.
Heather?
YouTube. Subscribe to my channel. It's the Happy Hour with Heather B for food and drink recipes.
I'm at Kierna. Give y'all yours again.
Yep, at Kierna Mayo, KIERNA MAYO, and check us out at Cassius Life at Cassius Life, CASSIUS Life, and it's underscore. It's life underscore on Twitter.
Life underscore.
At Cassius Life underscore on Twitter.
Okay, great. I'm at Real Sway across the board. Also, SZA is going to be joining us, TDE artist. She'll be up here tomorrow as well.
Nice.
And Allie Wentworth from In Living Color.
Nice. Tomorrow?
Yeah. All of that tomorrow?
We got a good show.
Damn.
Until then, we have nothing. It's a humdinger tomorrow left to say.
It's Sway in the morning, only on Shade 45. Kilo.